a very young age, they were very clear with me. I mean, obviously, they educated me on our family and and what my grandparents did and then what they accomplished, but they never said, "Okay, you're next." Like they never said that. In fact, they said, "You can do whatever you want. You can choose whatever path you would like." I think that kind of interestingly enough, a part of me, kind of like any kid, is like, well, I mean, like you know how your parents kind of were like, well, they never told me don't do this, but they were like, are you sure? And then like a part of you wants to be curious, well, what happens if I do that? Like almost because they didn't force it upon me, I think that's what kind of motivated me too.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Radical blessings to all of you, and rise high in appreciation so that you can receive the blessings that are permanently, perennially being poured upon you right now. I welcome you to the life question of the week. Tiffany asks, I'm inclined towards helping people find their way spiritually, but I get triggered when someone says something contrary to my own spiritual experiences, and I feel my body react in a certain way. It takes a lot of energy for me to restrain myself and not argue with others when that happens. I want to be more open. I don't want to be narrow-minded, opinionated, and bossy. How can I achieve this? There's some certain levels to this question. Let's start with the last thing first. When you say I want to be more open, I don't want to be narrow-minded, opinionated, and bossy, this is your intention. You're establishing this as an intention to be open, to be available, and not to be so attached to your opinion. In the Zen technology, there is a teaching and a statement that says, above all things, cherish no opinions. You cannot enter into expanded consciousness with an opinion. If you're inclined to assist people spiritually, it's not through your opinion. It's not through your information that you think you have. It's through your vibration, through your frequency, and through the places within you where you've actually embodied what you're trying to teach. If you haven't embodied yet, then what happens is if someone disagrees with you, you get upset. It triggers you. If you've embodied it, you don't care if people agree with you or not. Example, if you're sitting in school and you know absolutely certain that 2 plus 2 is 4, and someone stands up and starts to argue 2 plus 2 is 5, you're not even going to entertain that conversation. You're going to say, God bless you, and you're going to keep doing your math. But if you have an opinion, if you believe that 2 plus 2 is 4, but you don't really know that 2 plus 2 is 4, it might trigger you, it might bother you, you might get into an argument about it. But when you really know something, it shows. You vibrate with it. So that's why I said there's layers to this question. I'm inclined towards helping people find their way spiritually. Now, you have to make sure that this inclination is actually coming from the depth of your spirit and not just you wanting to be right about a particular thing, you see. Because if you're growing spiritually, the fruit of that growth is peace of mind, patience, non-judgmentalism. That's the fruit of spiritual growth. Love. That's the fruit of spiritual growth. If you just believe in spirituality, that fruit may not be coming into full bloom yet. So you just want to just take these things into consideration. It takes a lot of energy to restrain myself and not argue with others. You see, this is all flags that you want to not be out here trying to help people. You basically want to take that same amount of time and go in and have your own inner revelations insights, your own inner spiritual experiences. And you know what's going to happen? People will come to you. Why are you so happy? People will come to you. You seem really calm. People are coming to you. You know, there's so many things going on in the world that's so negative and hurtful, but you seem to have a level of joy anyway. What's going on with you? You see, to try to help people grow spiritually without them asking, that's called trespassing. You never want to trespass on anybody. You let people come to you. And when they come to you, then you can share your inner experience. You can share your belief because they've asked, which means they're interested. If they haven't asked, it's trespassing. This is why there's a scriptural reference that says, do not cast pearls before swine because they will turn and rend you. What does swine want? Garbage. They want food. If you try to give a pearl to a swine, there's no value, you see. So if you try to give pearls to a human being that's not asking you for them, they'll use what you're saying against you. You don't look too happy. You're always getting upset. It must not be working for you, you see. So work on yourself. And that inclination to assist others, it will start to percolate and you'll start to glow with your inner knowledge, and people will come to you and say, wow, I have an intuition that you can assist me. Now they're open because they've asked. Tiffany, I hope that assists. Do your inner work. Continue to love people. Let them come to you. For all of you who are listening, that question is kind of universal because when we start to learn a new teaching, we get so excited. We want to tell everybody. We want to change everybody's mind. No. You let it grow and simmer in you. And as Emerson said, if you build a better mousetrap than your neighbor, people will create a beaten path to your door. If you glow with the truth within you, people will find you. People will find you. So for everyone out here growing and unfolding spiritually, you don't have to shout it to the rooftops. Let your vibration do the shouting. You keep going in and doing your inner work. Have a beautiful day. Peace and blessings, everyone. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the founder of Agape International Spiritual Center, the host of this particular podcast, which is called Take Back Your Mind, where we're encouraging people to not only take back their mind, but to open their hearts. Take back your mind means come out of the hypnotic spell of the world as it appears to be and begin to take back your mind and to allow yourself to live in a realm of possibility of what could unfold if you were awake to who you really are. And we expand our heart to embrace all beings on this planet because they're all extension of us. Today, guess what? I have Yolanda Renee King with me. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Did you turn 16 yet?
Not yet. I turned 16 on May 25th.
She's born to Martin Luther King III and Arndrea Waters King. She's a sole grandchild of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. She was named in honor of her aunt, Yolanda Renee King, who died a little more than a year before she was born. At just 15 years old, she's about to be 16, she's taken to inspiring her peers to follow in the legacy of her grandparents, following her parents in their work to realize the dream. She's passionately addressed mass gatherings in protest against gun violence, homelessness, and inhumane treatment of refugees seeking asylum on the U.S. southern border. In 2018, Yolanda spoke at the March of Our Lives rally in Washington, D.C. at 9 years old, telling the crowd of thousands, I have a dream that enough is enough. She's appeared on CNN, MSNBC, NBC News, ABC News, and other national media to help carry on the mission her grandfather gave his life for many years ago. Recently, this is really beautiful, she authored her first book. It's called We Dream a World, a children's book that she says is for kids, big and little. I have 4 copies, by the way. It talks about the legacy of her grandparents and the choice we all have to follow the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yolanda, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And just so everybody knows, I just came back from Los Angeles recently, and I stayed with the Kings, and we got to have some good conversation and to hang out. And so Yolanda, welcome. And, there's so much I want to talk to you about. Did you know that your auntie, Yolanda, was a member of Agape?
I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah. So you have that beautiful name. She was such a beautiful spirit. Yeah. So listen, in an interview, you shared that you had a dream in which your grandfather appeared to you. And what did you think that dream meant? What happened in the dream? This is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. coming. What happened in that dream?
Oh my goodness. I need to actually start keeping a dream journal, because this was this was back in 2018. So this has been a few years. But what happened was that there was a museum almost, and my grandfather he came back to life. And remember, there was like a swarm of reporters and just like a bunch of people around him. And I did get a glimpse of him. And I remember that after, I guess, the swarm went away, and he somehow managed to, I guess, like maneuver and kind of get away. I remember kind of just being with him, and I believe in a garage or something. I need to write all of this down. And he didn't really say too much, and I didn't really, unfortunately, get to interact with him as much because of all the attention he was getting from the crowd and the press and all the cameras.
Do you have an inner interpretation of that dream? I mean, it's your grandfather coming back alive. What did that mean to you?
Well, I think that, if the interesting thing is that the night before, I had a dream about my grandmother, and then a few days later, we went to Washington, and I spoke at the March for Our Lives rally.
So you're probably getting messages from them encouraging you, or just being around you, carrying the frequency of their particular dream. Now,
that's what I believe, yes.
Yeah. So you spoke this 2023, we were both there. You spoke at I Have a Dream, the commemoration of the 60th anniversary. I saw you there. You really brought the power. And one of the things that you said, my generation will be defined by action, not apathy. You really feel that?
I believe so. I believe that my generation there will be a lot of change. And I think that already from a very young age, we've expressed interest in these issues. And I think that now, as we're getting older and soon we'll be able to take on leadership roles, I think that things are going to be different this time around. I think with the internet and the access, and while there are a lot of problems with online and social media, I think that with social media, we are able to, I guess, really people are able to be informed of the world in these events, and human nature, I guess, causes us to want to do something. And so I think a lot of kids, a lot of young people, since they have like access to everything that's going on just in the like their hands on a small little phone, I think that a lot of times they're able to see and they're exposed to this.
Yeah, your generation, you're right. They have access to so much happening on the world, and a lot of it is not censored by the Western media, which censors a lot of things. You don't really get the full measure of what's happening. But your generation, as you just indicated, has something in their hand in which they're seeing things that normally citizens could not even see because they wouldn't show it to them. And so you think because of that, your generation is going to take more action on some of the issues on the planet.
Right, I do. I really do.
It's necessary, obviously. Let me ask you this. How did it feel standing where your grandfather stood 60 years ago on the March on Washington. I mean, how did that feel to you?
Well, I think that it felt empowering. I felt empowered and powerful, and I felt legacy while standing there. I mean, that one spot has so much history that went on. And so I really did feel something. I felt like a strong energy, a strong force, and almost it felt like I was kind of paying homage to those who came before us, to those who fought for us to even have the opportunities we do now. I think that it's sad that even 60 years later, we are talking about, I guess, similar issues. We should have moved on by now, but at the same time, I believe that I wouldn't have the opportunities I do, and none of us would really have the opportunities we did without that march, without the whole movement in general. And so to something I felt like I was paying homage. It was almost like I was able to give a thank you, and I think that we really need to do that.
Mhm.
We take it for granted.
Now, from what I understand, your parents didn't necessarily encourage you to walk this path. This is just something you evolved into yourself.
Yes. Yeah, so and then I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, like your parents are making her do this. They're forcing her to do this." No, I mean from a very young age, they were very clear with me. I mean, obviously they educated me on our family and our and what my grandparents did and then what they accomplished, but they never said, "Okay, you're next." Like they never said that. In fact, they said, you can do whatever you want. You can choose whatever path you would like. We're not going to force this upon you. We're not going to make you do this. And in fact, sometimes it would be like, do you want to do this? Are you sure? Because of um all the fortitude that it requires. And so like they would always be like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? It requires a lot. And so I think that kind of interestingly enough, a part of me, kind of like any kid, is like, well, I mean, like you know how your parents kind of were like, well, they never told me don't do this, but they were like, are you sure? And then like a part of you wants to be curious, well, what happens if I do that? Like almost because they didn't force it upon me, I think that's what kind of motivated me too.
Yeah.
Like them, like I was a little mischievous, so I think that there's a part of me that wanted to kind of see, well, why don't they, like, do they really want me to do this? And if so, like, what happens if I do this?
It might be some like an accidental reverse psychology. You know what I mean? But they gave you freedom to choose. You were pulled to actually walk in the footsteps of what your grandparents did and what your parents are doing. Your parents are working on a very big project, realizing the dream.
Right. Yeah.
That 100 million acts of service by the time that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is 100 years old. I mean, that's big. It's a big
Right.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's vicious.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you have friends and cohorts that where you had these kind of conversations with that understand your walk and are supportive? I mean, in terms of, you're about to be 16. I mean, do you have buddies that understand your walk and are with you?
I mean, the people who I guess I surround myself with and the people who I decide to spend the most time with, I think that a lot of times their values and beliefs and opinions are really kind of, I guess, very much so aligned with mine. And even if, say, politically they do, because I mean, we have friends from all different sorts of political backgrounds, and I think I mean, that's all another thing, but I think that's also an issue that, to like it just because you're in a certain party and someone else is in a different party doesn't mean that you can't coexist. But I think that they all the people who I decide to spend the most time with, we all believe that change needs to be done, and we're all somewhat or somehow are not somewhat somehow are or concerned in a way about certain issues.
Hmm.
And so I think that that's important to acknowledge. And so, I mean, we do have those conversations a lot. I think also a part of me, I mean, yes, I do talk about that, but sometimes talking about those issues can be It could be very exhausting, and I think that's such a big part of my life. A lot of times when I am with my friends or the closest people, and also, I mean, I've met people through doing this work. I'm other, I guess, people who do this work and other peers, and now I have friendships with them. But I will say that when I mean I usually am with them, it's kind of like a time to um a time to de-stress, a time to unwind. It's time for me, like for me and all of
Have some
us.
fun.
It'll be, yeah, silly and fun, and, I mean, we're not really too mischievous, but it's
Mhm.
just, like, kinda, like, silly and fun and just joking around and happy and so and content and all that, and just whenever I'm with them, I just even if I'm having, like, a rough day or some things in my mind or I'm really stressed about something or just really frustrated. I mean, this work can be so frustrating sometimes, or and sometimes I guess just frustrated about this work. I'm just being with them kind of lightens up my mood.
You kind of, you get to decompress a little bit.
Right.
Being with,
Exactly. So
yeah,
important.
that's good. That's good. You have a good frequency there. So in June of 2022, following the tragic shooting in Texas, you published a column in the Washington Post calling on your generation to stand up against gun violence. And this goes back to action, not apathy. What prompted you to write that article, and what kind of feedback did you get?
Well, I think that it was time that the world hear my opinions. I think that there was a lot going on. There's still so much going on. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a whole, I guess, rabbit hole, and we'll be talking about that for a while. But it's just, I think that it was time. I think the people really just needed to hear something, and just really needed some words. I think that we were at a low point, and then I thought it was low, and honestly, now to some degree, I feel like on a worldwide level, we're at a lower point, and a very critical point. And so I think that it's so important that we publish stuff and that people hear from others and kids my age and younger and older and who are in my age group hear from peers about their opinions, because I think sometimes we get like so discouraged, and it's very discouraging. And I feel like also we live in a world where it's like, let the adults like handle this, like this is an adult problem, you should be focusing on your school and your friends and stuff. And it's like, if this is the way the adults are handling it, like, I feel like the adults are kind of like, to some degree, I hate to say this or to be like harsh, but it seems like the adults are failing us or have failed us, and it's gonna be our responsibility next, and we can't repeat this cycle. I mean, and someone's got to break it. Like,
Yeah.
who's it gonna be? Um, and so I think that it was just so important to and inform people and kind of get a response, because there was so much negative, and there still is, and there constantly is, and obviously I mean, I'm sure you're very aware of this, and I hear you talk about this all the time. There's so much negativity in the world, and so you have to kind of put out positive things or put out things to keep people encouraged and rallied up, and also to some degree, I guess this is kind of weird, but it was kind of for myself, because I'm sometimes just hearing my words, you're just reading something, I guess, encouraging, kind of encourages myself to keep on going, because trust me, there are some days where I just this can be, and it can be very difficult.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of people kind of, I think that we see, because we've seen the good parts, I think that it's gone romanticized a lot,
Hmm.
and the work has gotten romanticized, and the hard work has gotten very like romanticized. But during that time, and you had to find a way to, I guess, stay positive and motivated and strong, but it can be very hard.
Yeah. So you're going to be 16 soon, and you're dealing with gun violence. You're
Right.
dealing with um, just violence. Period. I mean, you actually called for. I saw one of your speeches, and you said you don't want just gun control. You see a world where we don't even have guns anymore. I mean, you went way there. I mean, what prompted you to say that?
Well, like
That's a big dream.
I never really, and I think even then, I never really understood. I don't really understand guns. I mean, I get that now. Unfortunately, we need it for security, but you literally just made like a killing machine,
Hmm.
and in my opinion, that's not aligned with my morals. And why are we like? And now it's become a thing that's like kind of funny to people or something, and it's so accessible.
Yeah.
It's more accessible to get a basically a kill. I mean, they call them guns, and we've been desensitized to the word, but basically they're killing machines. It's so much easier to get a gun than it is to vote. Like they're making it easier to buy that than to vote. And I get that people should feel secure and need to feel secure, but why then? Like, do you think that arming everyone up is going to provide safety? Why can't you find a way to provide safety as a whole to the community? It's like it's like if there's a neighborhood and you there's say it's not safe, or a community that's not safe, for instance, and maybe something can be as simple or as like a fence or something, and instead of building a fence of some sort, then you just arm everyone. Like, really? Like, then I feel like I would be more scared. Like, just make a fence. And so I
Yeah.
think that's the point, and from a young age. And I think also my parents kind of explained to me what a gun was, and even from a young age. I mean, I remember like um Nerf guns were like
Mhm.
really hot. Like from a young age, you kind of start to get desensitized to guns, and at first it's like, oh, it's a toy, like it's fun, like like it's like a game, because they make everything games for kids. And so I remember one year for my birthday, and it was like, I don't know if they're as popular now, but like Nerf guns um used to be like a really, really big toy. And they had like the bullets were like plastic, and you kind of just play with your friends. You'd be like, oh, hi, you're out, and you kind of just like run around and play, and then you were able to load it and stuff. I mean, they were obviously like harmless. Um but and it starts kind of small like that. And so I remember one year, and this is hard, I remember my one of my friends had gotten me a Nerf gun. And I mean, I decided, and this was before March for Our Lives, I decided that I think because from a young age I kind of learned about guns, and I
Mhm.
guess the representation and the history, and really what they were built to do.
Right.
And I decided, I was like, you know what? Because I mean, I will say, like, I did, like any kid would, I played with it a couple of times, and I was like, this just doesn't feel right. And I kind of just decided to recycle it and throw it away. So I was like, I don't really want to, even if it's just like a toy, I don't really want to get desensitized to this behavior. And I just think that they were never for me. And also, I think it's gotten worse to the point where why is it that people are using military weapons for security? Like, and even if you need security, why are you using an AR-15 as a source for security? Like, those are used for battle builds that was designed for the military. Why do you need it for your daily necessities, or even why do you need it for hunting even? Like, it's just, I don't know. And then I just think that if there was safety, then people wouldn't need guns. And I think that like the whole, I guess, like gun culture thing, and like almost to some degree like romanticizing guns, is because it's like to justify the reason why we need it. And it's like we're really getting desensitized.
Absolutely. So, so sounds like something in your spirit when you were playing with that toy gun. Something in your spirit just knew it wasn't for you. This is not the path you were going to walk on. And now you're kind of an advocate for a gun-free world. That's a big dream. You know, it's
For
like
sure.
I'll sometimes speak about let's stop talking about who's going to win a war. We need to have a conversation about a world that doesn't have war, you
Right.
know?
And there's some countries already. I mean, for some people that are like, oh, I don't know, like it's never gonna happen in the US, or that's never gonna happen. Like there's some countries, like I believe Japan and even the UK, like the police don't walk around with guns.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the case in the UK, but I know that for
it
a
is.
fact.
It is. It is.
They don't carry guns because they don't need to. I think that people are constantly on survival mode here, but there are countries that are already more in the gun free side. They're like the police. And I remember when I heard that, because I'm so used to our police, and to be honest, like I feel like more safe, like our police are armed. And so I remember being like shocked. Like it's almost like if someone told me, oh, like people don't wear shoes on the streets, or people don't wear jackets on a cold day. Like that's how I felt when like I was informed that in like Japan and the UK they didn't have guns. Like that's how like big it is like for us here. Like it's just and also I think that I think that gun violence is definitely an issue, I guess, worldwide, but I think it's especially a big issue here. I mean, I was talking to a friend one time, he lives in Australia, and we were just talking, and I was like, yeah, you need to come visit like the US. I haven't seen you like in forever. And he was like, I'm scared, like, and kind of like joking, but he's like, I'm scared, like I don't want to, like, you all have like a lot of guns, like, and I don't want to get like hurt or anything. Like, there's just like always guns and stuff, and I don't know if it's safe. Like, I don't want to go. Like, I don't know if it's safe. And we were kind of just like joking and laughing about it. And I think I just like a lot of people, if you interview them, what do you think about the US? Like the first thing that comes up is like guns. Like we're kind of like this
Right.
nation is associated with guns.
Right. Right. And now they have open carry rules where people can actually openly carry their guns, and they have the stand your ground rules where you could actually shoot somebody that's looking like they're coming after you. Yeah. So America, out of all the countries in the world, is probably the most violent in terms of statistical shootings and deaths and injuries based on guns for whatever reason. I may have my own theory around that, but
Right.
it's very, you're right. America is interesting.
And
Yeah.
let me just say this thing, and I'll be quick. Like I'm not saying, 'cause I know some people will be like, well, she's saying that I can't do self-defense. Like, what if someone's trying to attack me? Like, I can't defend myself now. Like, I'm just gonna get attacked. And I'm not saying that. Like, I'm not anti self-defense. Like, if someone is attacking you, then you have the right to defend yourself, and to protect your family. But I just don't think that we should just be like, like we shouldn't just be like throwing guns around. Like I definitely believe that if someone is, you should protect yourself. Like I'm not saying that and we're not saying that, oh, you should protect yourself. We're just saying that like it's gotten out of control, and also maybe you wouldn't have to worry about defending yourself as much if you made guns less accessible.
Right. Well, like you said, it's easier to get the gun than the vote. It's easier to get a gun than to get a barber's license, you know?
Dude, to get a gun than a driver's license, it's gonna
Yeah.
be a few months, and it's literally easier to get a gun, just like ridiculous, and to like a not just like a handgun, but like a military level gun. Like it's
Right.
so to
Right.
get.
Right. Absolutely. Well, this brings us to this because you're talking about we dream a world. Now, this is powerful because your grandfather obviously spoke so eloquently around America giving the citizens, particularly Black people, an insufficient check, a check mark, insufficient funds, in terms of the I Have a Dream speech, and then your grandfather went into having a dream about the possibility of all people living together. So you have a book now I'll call We Dream a World, and it just was released quite recently.
Right.
What's your favorite parts of this book, and what do you want people to get out of it?
Well, I really want readers to feel inspired. I think that right now, and I think that also when we talk about even, I think that anyone, I think that we can get anything, and obviously, I mean, you all obviously know about this, but I think that we can get anything we want in our lives and anything we want in the world, and we're literally walking magnets. And sometimes I mean, the outside world, and even I think even whether or not he knew it, I think that my grandfather and grandparents really and people who were involved in the movement really use these principles as well to better the world. I think that you can use certain principles and attract certain things in your life, I guess, for for your personal life, but then also you can kind of do the same in your world. And I'll use an example. When my grandmother wanted to make MLK Day a holiday, and
Hmm.
it did take her 10 years. It was a full 10 years, 10-year campaign, and so many people, even our own peers, just like, this is not getting done. Like, you should drop it. And then people were like, why is she doing this? Let's go. Like why is she still doing this? Like, she should just give up. Like, everyone knows nothing is going to happen. Even at the time, the President Ronald Reagan was like, I'm not gonna make this a holiday. Like, don't worry, like I'm never gonna do this. And then she organized and like really consistent and just stayed on task and didn't let any of this throw her off. And you know what happened? And eventually he said, I would be more than happy to sign this into a law. And so it was it became a national holiday. And so I say that to say that if she would have looked at the outside world, then that would not have been done. Like, if she would have looked at or focused on what her peers were saying rather than what was in her mind and what she was envisioning, then it would not have been accomplished because the outside world sometimes says otherwise. And so I think right now, especially the outside world is saying a lot. I think that we're in a very critical time. And so I want this book to really serve as a blueprint and to really show the vision to people, to show the type of world. Yes, it may not be our reality. Yes, it may be a dream, but it can become it can become a reality. Dreams can be a reality. And I think that so many people were literally trained to look at that, to look at the world, to look at the outside world, and that's our story. No, that's not our story. And the same goes for the world. And so I hope that this book kind of serves as a way to show what our world can look like. And despite it not looking like that right now, that doesn't mean that it can't happen. So I just hope that people also, that this isn't like a one-time thing, but people throughout this process, because it is a whole journey, people will look at this book and reference this book at times when it seems like the world is beating them, or the outside world or the critics are beating them up. I hope that they keep on looking back at this book and keep on returning to this book for their source of inspiration and motivation and strength.
Absolutely. Because the basic teachings of metaphysics, the basic teachings of accomplishing something, if the mind can't see it as a possibility,
Right.
it's not going to manifest. So you're basically saying, we dream a world. We're saying you're encouraging people to at least begin to dream about the possibility.
Right.
What subjects are you dealing in here? Are you dealing with peace? Are you dealing with, I mean, what are the main categories that you're asking people to dream a better world about? I mean, bigotry, racism, voting, because your mother likes to say from time to time that you have less rights as a child now than women had years ago before you were even born, that's been an erosion of rights for human beings in the Western world, in America. So when you say dream a world, what parts are you dealing with?
Well, when I say dream a world, I think that I'm referring to really everything,
Mm-hmm.
all our issues that we have, whether that be human rights related or in climate change and the environment. I mentioned that, and
Mm-hmm.
bullying and just really everything that will better our world. I think that there's so much going on, and I think that I think we need to divide and conquer. I think that there are certain issues. I think there's issues that kind of draw everyone in, whether that be, I mean, I know some people are very, I guess, um, advocates for the climate and climate change. And I know some people who are um, advocates for women's rights, and people who are advocates for racial justice. And so
Mhm.
I think that you kind of choose your issues, and then I kind of talk about all the all the issues in there because I think that we need to acknowledge all of them, and really that we can and change all of them. And I there's so much going on right now. I mean, so much, and there's so many things, and so I think that it was so important to make sure that everything was included.
Wow. I mean, that's powerful. You're basically just holding up a mirror to your peers as well as the adults, saying these are the issues. Let's dream a better world together, which is extremely important because many people are so focused on what's not working and they're focused on all the issues, but no one's articulating or using their imagination to dream about possibility because that's where
Right.
change comes. You know, your grandfather knew this and all of his cohorts. Somebody said that was never going to happen when the Berlin Wall came down, you know,
Right.
so that's never going to happen. But somebody actually saw that in their imagination as a possibility. So your title is beautiful. We dream a world. We're dreaming about possibility because everything in that realm of possibility at the time doesn't seem realistic. You know, it just doesn't seem realistic. So we're talking about going beyond about what seems realistic and go into it, a whole other dynamic. So I applaud you for shining, putting this mirror up to everybody to see. And it's just been out a couple of months, right?
Has been, yes. Yeah, it's only been out for about a month, almost two.
You've been hitting the circuit, so to speak. You've been on different uh, TV programs talking about. I saw you on whose television program was that? I can't remember, but you really handled yourself well. It was really articulate and really bringing the news. In a very,
Thank you. But
yeah,
I did do a few interviews and then outlets, and I've done some talks on the book recently.
mm-hmm. You went on to some talks on it, huh? Mm-hmm.
Sorry?
You did some talks on it. You said,
Oh, I'm like on the show. I did some talks, and I talked and interviews. That's the correct terminology.
yeah. Now, is there any favorite part of the book, or you just like the whole book?
I mean, I really enjoy the overall art of the book, but if there's a certain part that I really enjoy, or really I think draws readers in, is when it really says "We dream a world." There's a lot of repetition, so it's we dream a world when, and it lists all the issues, and you can really see, and we made sure to try to include everything in, and it kind of really lists what it is. I read it to a bunch of people, and even like I myself, and it's brought a lot of people, even I myself, to tears, because
Mm,
I will really forget that, like, we're still dreaming this. I think that even with the news now, we hear about all the horrible stuff, and all the nastiness of our world, but I think sometimes we forget who we can be, and who we are deep in our souls, and so I think that therefore touch the emotions of so many people, and will continue to touch emotions, and touch hearts.
mm-hmm. No, that's powerful. That's powerful. Um, you know, we have to dream a better world
Right.
and not just deal with circumstances and situations and people and places and things as they are. We have to actually live in the world, you know, bringing that which the world would call impossible into manifestation. You know, I always teach that we did not come to the planet to walk in the vibration of the status quo. We came here to actually change the status quo,
Certainly.
which is entrenched and allow the world to be better. In other words, if you want to predict the future, you have to create it. You have to be a co-creator. That's one of the things your grandfather said, that peace doesn't roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but it rolls in on the backs of people who are co-creating, with God, with a vision, with power. So you're holding up a mirror to all ages saying, let's start dreaming a new world.
Right.
And then walking in that direction for real, even though there are forces that are trying to keep us stuck in less freedom, stuck in the vibration of racism and all the isms, which are a sign of a sickness, actually.
Right. Yes, certainly.
Yeah. So I'm very proud of you, very proud of you. We've known each other for a little while now.
Yeah, but then it's been a little bit.
Yeah. And you're just becoming more and more articulate, more beautiful. And what do you do for fun? I mean, when you're not changing the world?
I mean, I will say, spending quality time with, I guess, people who I really, there are certain people whose energy I kind of feed off of, and they feed off of me. And so really just being with them always empowers me, and friends, I guess, and family, and also just like listening to music,
Hmm.
uh, watching movies, just music in general, just anything kind of like music related I find really fun.
You have some favorite artists?
Favorite artists.
Artists
I
with an S, and I'm gonna limit you to one.
well, I mean, I listen to like a few of many artists, and I kind of listen to everything. So I guess for genre, there are like different artists. I really like SZA
Okay.
music. Kendrick Lamar. Um, I would say, Steve Lacy, Lana Del Rey, just like a bunch. I have like a whole list of people.
You like any old school? You got any old school people in there?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I listen to everything. So yeah, there's definitely some old school thrown in there.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, everyone, listen. Her book is called "We Dream a World." That what's powerful about saying "world" is that there is a difference between the planet and the world. Planet is Gaia, the planet is Mother Earth, but the world is a collection of agreements and opinions and points of view that we all live in. So people live in different worlds. So by that title, you're saying, let us dream a world in which all people can live in it together, in which everyone's needs are met.
You see, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. So you didn't say we dream a planet, you said we dream a world.
Right.
And that's powerful because two people can be standing on the same spot on the planet, but be in two different worlds. One person can be a lover of humanity, and one person can be a hater of certain people. Different worlds. So you're inviting each being to dream a world in which we can all live together as brothers and sisters.
Right.
Live together as stewards of the planet.
Right.
Live together taking care of each other rather than tearing each other down. So We Dream a World is a very powerful title. Any last words anything you want to share with the folks before we go? When you're having challenges, like, what do you do to get centered again?
I mean, I will talk to someone. I'm kind of a talker. I kind of need to, and I know some people like told stuff, and I need to let it out. And so really, I mean, I go to my mom and my dad, and I'll really just like talk, or someone who are trying. I mean, I talk to you.
Right. No, you can always call me. We've had some good conversations.
Yes, definitely. And so yes, it's just like really calling people and talking to them, and if I have questions or feel uncertain, or finding people who inspire me and friends, just or just doing what makes me happy. I think sometimes you have to do what makes you happy to get back happy again.
Yes.
It's like something made you sad, and I guess sometimes a thing that made you sad keeps you happy. Well, when I do something happy that makes me happy and will keep me happy.
Hmm.
Same thing.
Yeah. Well, it's a very healthy habit rather than being closed up and not letting people know what you're going through. You don't do that because we
Right.
find out many people, like the suicide rate is up all across the board. And we found out that people were writing notes and they were maybe writing in their journal, but they weren't reaching out, or people who hurt themselves, So
Right.
your willingness to speak and ask questions and ask for help for those people that you love and trust is very, very healthy. And it's a good model for other teenagers too, to
Right.
don't lock yourself up. There's someone that someone can talk to, you see?
Right.
Yeah. So good on you, Yolanda Renee King. Any last words you want to share with the people? Anything we didn't cover that you want you'll go back back and say to yourself, oh, I should have said that. What do you want to say to the world?
Well,
Or
I
to,
just want
or
to
to your
say,
own generation, or even whoever.
I simply want to say that if you've made it this far, congratulations, and do something to make your community better. It doesn't have to be something large, doesn't have to be something big, just a passion project, something you're good at, and get a bunch of people together and do something to make the world better, and just hang in there and stay together. We really will get through this, and we really will. I mean, after even in movies, there's a reason why movies are formatted the same way. There's a period, almost at least a good film, where there's like a lot going on, and then there's like a pushback and a push factor, and then protagonist gets kind of feels like out of line, and gets a little discouraged, and that's okay. I mean, that's why we're here on this earth as well, to learn lessons and to learn our personal lessons, but also our society, like lessons as a society. So do something, and there will be a period, there's going to be a time where at the end where there's glory and celebration, but we need your help. So also, congratulations for making it this far, if you did.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I like the fact that you're asking people to get together with the people and to find a passion project. I mean,
Right.
that's great because basically, when a person begins to serve, they become healthier mentally, emotionally, and physically. If you're down in the dumps and you serve something, your energy flows differently. So
Do
you're
that.
really giving some good advice here.
I mean, I always feel better when, even if I'm just doing like like a service of sort, doesn't have to be something major. I just feel better. I feel like I just got out of the shower, or I washed my face, or something. I don't know. Or I ate and I was hungry. Like it has that same feeling.
Yolanda, it's beautiful, beautiful. Well, I absolutely appreciate your time. Oh, let me ask you one other question. How you doing in school?
I'm doing good. I have a physics test tomorrow, so I'm gonna study for that.
Okay, you're going to
It's
be fine.
It's actually interesting because, like when you're talking about, I guess, like metaphysics, like we were talking, well, this is a new unit. It's not going to be on the test, but today we were learning about like the different forces, and how we're like a magnet, and like how we attract stuff. And I was thinking that's so true.
Mhm.
It's so true. And then I just found it so interesting what she was saying, that everything we do, like we kind of attract, and like you kind of like attract people. And it wasn't to the degree, and like even physics itself, I guess I was thinking, proves that these principles, and like attracting, and kind of like this idea of us being magnets is true. I mean, it's scientifically been proven.
Absolutely. And I'm glad I attracted you on my podcast today.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll be able to attract some inspiration to people.
Absolutely. So listen, everyone. This is Yolanda Renee King. Her book is entitled We Dream a World. And I imagine you can get this book anywhere books are sold. You can go to Amazon. You can go to a bookstore. Do you have a website that people can go to?
Just anywhere. I mean, Barnes and Noble, Amazon,
Do you have a personal website? Yeah.
personal website. I don't have a personal website, but I'm on all the social
You're
medias.
on
So
Instagram and everything like that.
yeah,
Okay.
that jazz.
And what was that?
Oh, I was just saying all that, like all that. Yeah.
All of that. Okay.
Oh,
That is Yolanda Renee King. And watch her coming. She has a bright and a beautiful destiny. It's unfolding, and she's participating in it fully and completely as a great example to all of her peers that you don't have to wait for the adults to do everything. You don't have to wait for the adults to say everything. This is your world too. So you can speak up, you can make a difference, you can be a participant in a future that works for the highest and best within us all. And she's a shining example of that. Yolanda Renee, thank you so much.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Give your parents my love, and we'll talk soon.
Definitely will talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
It's Yolanda Renee King. It's always a beautiful part of my life when she calls and wants to go have a deep dive into some topic that she's working with or something that she's growing through in her own life. I feel very honored. Her auntie, Yolanda, was a member of Agape. I'm great friends with her mother and father. And I knew, I should say, I met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And when I was a small child at Holman's Methodist Church. He was on the West Coast, swing to the West Coast to raise money for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. My mother took me there and shook his hand. And I remember telling my mother, he has very soft hands. My mother said, he does a different kind of work, baby. So anyway, to know the whole family and to be a part of their lives, it's very honored to be a part of the great work and to know them as well. So that was Yolanda Renee King. Her book is entitled We Dream a World. She's 15, been on the planet 15 years, soon to be on the planet 16 years. All of you have a beautiful and bright and magnificent day. Take back your mind, expand your heart. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, everyone. And this is our meditation segment. We always have a meditation segment with the Take Back Your Mind podcast. Why? Because it is the transportation to transformation. It's the practice that leads you into insights, revelations, that ultimately can lead to expanded awareness of who you are, what you are, why you are, when you are, which is why you meditate. So there's something called existential meditation. Existential meditation is when you ask a question as to why you exist, who are you? There's different modes of meditation. So we're going to do a little existential meditation. We're going to ask a question inspired by Yolanda Renee King and her desire with her peers to do projects. She said, do a passion project when you're feeling down, you see. So anyway, we're going to discover who we are, but we're going to discover how we can serve as well. So I invite you to turn within in this moment, that is, extract your attention from the external world. Begin to release any thoughts about what others may be thinking about you. And just come to a seated position and let your back be erect without being rigid. And remember a moment in which you felt safe, secure, and totally loved. Doesn't matter at what age you were, how many years you were on the planet. Just remember the feeling. Safe, secure, saturated and surrounded by love. And if you cannot remember such a moment in your life, imagine it. What would it feel like to be safe, secure, surrounded by love? The brain does not know the difference between your imagination, your memory, or present moment. So either imagine it or remember it. As we're sitting here, ask this question: who am I? Just silently say, who am I? And then listen with your entire being. And it may begin to bring you your personality constructs and sub-personalities and experience and all the things you think you are. And you begin to see that a lot that bubbles up is temporary. It's not who you really are. You're not merely the son or daughter of your parents. You're not merely where you were born. You're not merely your ethnicity, the color of your skin, your religious background. Those are all temporary identities. You're saying, who am I? And listening with your entire being for a feeling, an insight, in a language and in a way that you can understand. Be with that for a moment. What will begin to bubble up will be insights around your real identity. Combined who am I with how can I serve? How can I contribute to a better world? Who am I? How can I contribute to a better world? Without judgment or censorship, just be aware of what's coming through. Who am I? How can I contribute? How can I serve the emergence of a better world? Let's be with that. Be aware that you have set something in motion by asking those questions. And even as you sleep, and even as you may be daydreaming, you may catch versions of that answer coming through you because you've asked the question. So you slowly open your eyes, be aware that the universal presence, called by millions of names, by law, answers every question that you ask. Make sure you are asking questions that empower you. Do not ask what's wrong or who's to blame. Today you're asking, who am I? Who am I really? And how can I serve a better world? Law will answer. Thank you for sitting in meditation with me for a brief moment. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace and blessings. I appreciate your letters and emails that you've been sending in, but also the notes you're sending on the Instagram and on the website, thanking me for Take Back Your Mind. And I thank you for your support. As I've said before, if you want to support Take Back Your Mind, support the sponsors. The main sponsor is the Agape International Spiritual Center, agapelive.com. We have a Facebook presentation, an Instagram presentation, a YouTube presentation, and a website presentation. You can donate to the sponsor at agapelive.com. It's one way that you can donate. It supports the podcast. Second sponsor is Nutrarise.com. You go to Nutrarise.com, those 3 lines up at the top, you touch that line, and you'll get Adaptozen. Adaptozen are my products. The Super Green Superfood Greens and the vitamin D3, K2. Both extremely good for your health, your nutrition. You support the sponsors, you're supporting the podcast. Have a beautiful, and as I like to say, a bright day, luminous day, because you are a luminous being. Peace and blessings. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in Taking Back Your Mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind, and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.